You're driving traffic. You're sending emails, but still, how can you see what is negatively impacting your sales? Stay tuned and find out.
Being an entrepreneur sounds like, yes, another new client. I did it. But it can also sound like, I am really not understanding this technology, and I'm feeling so overwhelmed. Am I even cut out for this? That's why I started the Dark Horse Entrepreneur Podcast, to help infopreneurs, coaches, and course creators who want to build a business online but are battling technology, overwhelm, procrastination, and even imposter syndrome. Think successfully, think differently, think bigger, and take action by learning tips from an array of business owners, all dropping knowledge on the Dark Horse Entrepreneur Podcast. Check us out at www.darkhorseschooling.com.
What is up? What is up? What the hell is up, my Dark Horse friends and family? Welcome back to another dose of conversion rate learning. I'm your Dark Horse host, Tracy Brinkman. And as many of you return listeners know, I've been in the course creation, coaching, and online space since the 90s. And for you newbies, it means I got a little bit of experience under my belt, yet here I am, still learning. And that's why I'm here, to share with you what I have learned and what I am still learning about course creation, coaching, entrepreneurship, and infopreneurship, which begs the question, who are you? And to me, my friend, that is infinitely more important. You are a driven entrepreneur, and maybe even more specifically, an infopreneur with or seeking a coaching and online course model in your business. Or maybe you're hoping to have some of that, all of that, very, very soon. Either way, you're here because you're ready to start, restart, kickstart, and just start leveling up with some great marketing, personal, or business tips and results in order to build that beautiful business of yours into the empire it absolutely deserves to be. And that's why I'm here hitting you with another solo success episode coming to you straight from the Dark Horse HQ as we dive deep into your infopreneur and course creation success, giving you some actionable advice, tips, and steps designed to help you level up your game, because as we already know, there are no shortcuts to success except for taking those little steps towards your goal every single day. All right, so like I started you off with, maybe you're out there, you're sending traffic to your website, your landing page, your offer, you're sending emails, but still, you're getting those damn crickets. And we want to chat a little bit about what might be negatively impacting your sales. But I think more importantly, how you can find out what is negatively impacting it. And we do that through things like conversion rate and click-through rate and open rate, right? And let's talk about conversion rate. So if we think about how it's defined by Google, which is, quote, conversion rates are calculated by simply taking the number of conversions and dividing them by the number of total ad interactions that have been tracked to a conversion during the same time period, unquote. Oh, yawn. All right, let's talk about what a conversion is, because a conversion can be different things for different instances. Obviously, this Google definition is all about tracking the conversions of their ad platform, right? So depending on your goal, it could be a person who signs up for your email list, someone who makes a purchase, or in the case of advertising, someone who clicks through your ad to a page view. But basically, a conversion rate is a percentage, right? It's a percentage of people that did X, percentage of X that did that. In other words, your conversion rate tells you the percentage of people that came to your website and took whatever action, whatever that goal is that you've defined. Now, to calculate the conversion rate, you use the formula conversions divided by visits. That gives you your conversion rate. So if you had 12 people come and visit your squeeze page and 300 of them signed up for your list, then 300 divided by 1,200 is 0.25, which is, like I said earlier, it's a percentage, 25%. So 25% of the people who came to your squeeze page actually signed up. Doesn't mean a sale, right? That's the conversion rate. Now, why do you need to pay attention to conversion rates? Well, it's very important because it tells you what's working. Let me say that again. Conversion rates tell you what is working. Now, it also tells you what's not working and what needs to be improved. It gives you a baseline so that you can do an A test against a B test. We've all heard A/B testing. If you haven't heard it before, you've heard it now, right? And that way you can figure out which one converts better. Because the better you are at converting your traffic, then the less traffic that you're going to need to get the same results. And the better results you're going to get from the same amount of traffic. In online marketing, conversion rates really are everything. Businesses live and die by the conversion rate because conversions result in sales. A lack of conversions or not enough conversions really spells the impending doom of your business or whatever venture you're going on. Now, conversion rates come in many different forms, as I mentioned earlier. So obviously you have those who visit your page, say your squeeze page, like I mentioned earlier, and then sign up. That's a conversion. Now that they've signed up, what do you do? Well, I'm going to send them some emails, Tracy. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to try and get them. I'm going to try and build that know, like, and trust factor and eventually get them to buy, right? Each one of those micro steps, those micro commitments along the path to their final destination that you want to lead them on. Some people call it a funnel. That's fine. Call it a funnel, right? You get them to your website, to your squeeze page, and you get them to give your email, and then you start delivering them value. You can hear me. I'm going to beat this one over your head. Deliver them value. Now, inside of the emails are another thing it's really like a conversion. There's the open rate, right? So when you send out that email, you build your list up to 4,200 people. Man, Tracy, I'm rocking it. And you send out an email list. You don't want to get those crickets, and I won't play the sound for you again. You've heard it twice already this episode. You want to get them to open. So the open rate is another conversion rate you want to keep an eye on. Now, you want a high open rate. And so many people out there saying email is dead. I'm not on that bandwagon yet, right? But it is not a lone tool like it used to be. I mean, I remember back in the days when I had an email list of 14,000, I had a pretty good open rate and great click-through rates because that was the marketing tool of the time. More things have come along, and so the email marketing, while I say is not dead, is not as lively as it used to be. But know your open rates. So, for instance, I got here an email list of 4,247. The last email I sent out had an open rate of 61.487%. What? Whoa! That is pretty huge. Most folks are not hitting that as I chat with them. And now, mind you, not every one of my emails have that level of open rates. You know, it's all about what is in your subject line. Are you beating them to death with content that they don't want? That's going to erode your open rates, which is a conversion rate. I sent you an email, right? This is just like delivering you to the sign-up page, to the squeeze page, and you opened it. You gave me your email address. All right. So right now, I've got about 61% of them opening, almost 62% of them opening the email, and then a good percentage of them, and I don't remember this one off the top of my head, click through on the link that would have been in the email. So I delivered them some value, and I said, oh, by the way, if you'd like to learn more about this, you can listen to it here on this podcast or learn about it in this blog post or go to this VSL and learn more. So it was a good percentage of those folks that opened the email that click through. Again, another conversion rate. And anytime I see any of those numbers dip down significantly, it's either A, my subject line, if I'm talking about emails, B, the content that I delivered inside there wasn't valuable enough for them to click through the link, and I would see a dip in my click-through rates, right? These are all signals that you're going to want to know. If we're talking about conversion rates back in your website, and if you take them instead of to a squeeze page, maybe you take them to a VSL. right? A video sales letter, or just a sales letter. And there you can see that they get on there, and one of the indicators on there is how long they hang around. So if it takes you, the person that wrote the sales letter, 2 minutes to read through the entire sales letter, you can imagine it's going to take them a little longer, because you know what it says. You wrote it, or at least if you didn't write it, had someone write it for you, you read it and approved it. So if they're hanging around for at least that amount of time, you're doing okay. And then if they click through, there's your conversion rate. Maybe they go to the buy page. And then, so that's one conversion rate. And then once they get to, call it the cart, right? They opened the cart, they get to the buy page and they don't buy. Well, then there's a different conversion rate. Now, another thing you can check is if they're dropping off too soon, right? So one of the ways you'll see a lot of folks doing that is they'll put a buy button periodically. You want a buy button at the top fold of the page. And imagine if you're holding your phone, the first, the headline, the subheadline, and maybe a little bit of a paragraph is there, and then there's a buy button right in your palm. So if someone's already liking and trusting you, and they see this, and they're in the market for it, they're going to go, oh, well, Tracy never steered me wrong. Boom, click, buy, right? You give that opportunity. Now, for those that need a little more nurturing, they're going to scroll through, right? Maybe they click the second buy button, the third buy button. And of course, you want one way down there towards the bottom by that guarantee. And we talked about guarantee as one of the psychological tactics you want to use. And if you don't remember that one, go back and listen to the previous 2 episodes. There's lots of those in there that you want to include on your website, your squeeze page, and your VSLs, or just your SLs. Anyway. So you can see how far they've scrolled down and how long they're hanging around on your website. So there's different conversion rates for each one of those things. Now, if you see something low, that's what you want to do an A/B test on. All right, Tracy, I can't even get them through the first 3 seconds. That means your headline and your subheadline is not garnering their attention right out of the gate. You got them to click through. They opened up that page and you lost them. If they're out in 3 seconds, then you got to change that headline or that subheadline. You got to hook their attention in that first second, right? So that first thing that pops up, it's got to grab, oh man, there's that pain point. I've been looking for this solution. And there's your subheadline. Hey, how do you want to do X within X period of time? Just any number of formulaic headlines that are out there. Now, if you keep them longer than 3 to 10 seconds, then you're doing good. Now you got to start delivering the value and the proposition points, right? These are all these different conversion rates until to the point where you're getting them to click that little buy button, or it's the add to cart, whatever the button is, to get them to move to that next phase. And then when you get them to do that, now maybe on your buy page, it has to do with price points or timelines, right? Whatever it might be at that point, in which case you're monitoring a different conversion rate. And if you're seeing them clicking the buy button and then a high abandoned cart rate, which means they're not actually buying, they're exiting out at that point, then you haven't pitched them to the point where they understand the value that you're delivering for the price point that you showed them. Now, we've seen both. Well, they show you the price before they click the buy button. That's fine. And you see another one too. It says, get your access now. And then it takes you to the checkout page. And then that's the first time they see the price. Try both, right? A/B test that. If you find that it works by sharing with them the price first, there you go. Move on. If you see it works better by showing them the price after you've proven all the value, move on. The thing is, you've tested it and you've got the conversion rates and you know what they are. And then when you find the point where your conversion rate is dropping off, everything's going along. Hey, I got them to the website, got the email, sending the email, getting good open rates, giving good click-through rates, getting to them to the sales page. They're hanging around for a bit. They're clicking that first or second or third or the last. Here's the thing, some of the middle ones will get really low conversion rates because if you're like me, you're sold on the person. you've trusted the person, you're reading through some of the first bit of the content, and you're like, yeah, okay, I can see how I can use this. And you scroll down and see what the price is right out of the gate. Right. And then I'll go back up maybe and check things out. All right. For those that have the prices right away. So there's another conversion rate. Now they're at the checkout page. Do they abandon the cart? What's your abandoned cart rate, right? Or what's your sales conversion rate at that point? There's two different ways to look at it, the negative side and the positive side. Knowing all those numbers, you can see each one where the number dips down and you're losing the momentum that you've built up to that point. And there's where you want to do the A/B testing at. Is it the very beginning where you're going to work on those headlines and that copy? Or is it more towards the end where you got them there and now they're like, oh my God, it's $1,997. I wasn't ready for that, right? So you've got to work on that piece of it. As I said earlier, in online marketing, in catalog marketing too, conversion rates, these metrics, they're everything. Your business is going to live or die by these metrics. They're going to tell you the story of what's happening in your sales path, in your funnel, because conversion rates, like I said earlier, result in sales. The lack of conversions or not enough conversions, they're going to spell impending doom. All right, before I let you go on this one, something else just popped up in my head. There's one last thing I saw that I think all of us have experienced one time or another, and Mother of God, please do not do this. I remember being on a marketing site that had lots of great information on the very topic I had searched for. Here's the problem. I hated the experience. Here's why. Every time I scrolled the page, it was initially blank. I was on my phone doing a little scroll, right? And I was reading the first paragraph, and I would scroll up to catch and read the next paragraph, and it was blank. BLANK. Then the words would start to slowly materialize into existence. Then I would start reading those, scrolling, waiting, reading, scrolling, waiting, reading, scrolling, waiting. Actually, I'm saying that fast. It was more like reading, scrolling, waiting, reading, scrolling, waiting. You get me? About halfway through the article, I could not do it anymore, and I bailed. I left the site. Now, this is a site that was from a knowledgeable marketer who wrote a great article. I wanted to read it, and it probably took them several hours of research or years of just knowledge gathering, right? But several hours to research, write, and polish that article into the finely worded bit of knowledge that it was. And yeah, it contained at least an affiliate link, and that was probably where it was making her money. However, thanks to the number of times that I had to wait, I never finished the article. I never clicked on the link. And I have yet to go back to check out any other of their content. Nor did I subscribe to the list, right? So I'm sure they thought that the delayed loading was clever. Maybe they didn't even realize it. Maybe they thought it's thinking it's something positive. Hey, if I get them to hang around longer, I can raise my ad rates to those that I sell ads to, because I can show them, look, they're staying on my website 3 minutes for a 30-second article, right? No, let's not do this. But because really, all it really did was create this frustration, right? I was frustrated. My concentration was repeatedly being broken every time I tried to read further. Like I said, I've never gone back to that site. Not a bad person, great person. So don't try to get cute with these little tips and tricks. Don't put a pop-up every 30 seconds. If your website is slow, please resolve that. There are all kinds of free tools out there that will test your website, and WebSpeed is one of them. I can't remember the link. I'm not going to try and tell you what it is. I test my website periodically, and when I first started testing it about a year ago, I was shocked at how slow it was. I thought it was pretty average. I didn't think it was super fast. Thought it was pretty average. When I did the test, it was like, dude, it's taking like 12 seconds. And you think about that, 12 seconds is not a long time. But when you're waiting for something like a website, 12 seconds is forever. And I'm not going to tell you what 12 seconds is right here because you would probably dip out of this podcast. So just don't. And sometimes it's little things like loading too many graphics or loading graphics that are too big, right? Sending calls out to different websites and what have you. These tools, these free tools will you quite often identify what your big issues are so you can go and resolve them. One of mine was images on the front page of my website. I was loading like 27 images and each one was bigger than it needed to be. So I reduced the number of images I was utilizing, and then I turned around and compressed the size of each one of those images with a few easy-to-access tools. And next thing you know, my website went from taking 12 seconds to load to 4. Big difference for someone that's waiting for information. All right? So there you go. Lots of great information when it comes to conversion rates and open rates and wait time for your folks that are hanging out on your website. All right. So I know you want to keep getting all these, solo success tips. So if you do, right, make sure you go on down there and hit that subscribe button. Leave us a 5-star rating, would you? That'd be awesome. Put some kind words in there. Ask a question. Leave some kind words in the reviews. And yes, it's self-fulfilling for you to do that for me. And of course, I want to ask you to do that because it does great things for the podcast. I think more so it's your way of telling any of the podcast algorithms, wherever you're listening to this podcast from. It's those subscribes, ratings, and reviews that tell those podcast platforms that you're getting the value from this episode or from this podcast overall. And what they do is they turn around and they give us a little bump up in the rankings so that we can reach more driven entrepreneurs just like yourself. So don't just do it for my show. Is there any other shows that you're listening to and you have yet to give them a rating, preferably a 5-star rating? Go out there, show the love, and help spread the word. All right, you get out there, you run your race, you get your results, and then come let me hear about them. Heck, leave it in the reviews. I'll reach back out to you or send me an email, Tracy@darkhorseschooling.com. Tell me the tip or idea that you came away with, how you put it into action, and what results you got. Who knows, might even bring you on the show and let you tell your story. Until next time, think successfully and take action. Thank you for listening to the Dark Horse Entrepreneur Podcast.
And you know this!
Thanks for tuning in.
Check us out at www.darkhorseschooling.com.
All right.
My name is Tracy Brinkman.